Boston College. He did it. He did it. Flutie did it.
I want to go higher.
Batted up.
Oh, God. Stokely down the side.
All right. So we just talked about a lot of contenders, people with, winning standings right now. Now let's look at the other side. And let's look at what I'm going to call the Trevor Lawrence Memorial Draft.
Is he dead?
Well,
Memorial.
He will be probably if he gets picked by one of these teams. So, it's the Trevor Lawrence Memorial Draft. We're going to choose kind of the 5 worst teams. I want to see if we agree on who the first worst team is and what they'll do, because some of these teams who are really bad have their quarterback or don't. I don't know. We'll have to see. Could be up for debate. But the first team I think is going to end up getting that first pick is the New York Jets. I think that one's pretty obvious. But I think the debate there, and what we're going to have to talk about, is are they going to move on from Sam Darnold when you have a guy like Trevor Lawrence available? Or what I think would probably be the smart thing, because Sam Darnold has shown flashes of being really good, and I know he can make some bonehead decisions, but you could probably trade back there and get a shit ton for Trevor Lawrence, and especially because you'll have so many teams calling you. Like, I got to imagine, 10 teams would call.
I could see that. However, Trevor Lawrence is the best quarterback prospect since Andrew Luck.
Yes.
And maybe you've heard other prospects described that way. They've been wrong. It's Trevor Lawrence. He's been a number 1 pick since he was a true freshman.
Mm-hmm. He's damn near been a number 1 pick since he was in high school.
Yes. There's only like, I think 2 teams that are actually like within the reality of picking first overall that would pass on him or would trade down.
Mm-hmm.
Should I say who those are or no?
Is it the Texans? Is the Texans the other one?
Oh, I didn't consider. Well, the Texans don't have a first.
Oh yeah, that goes
pick
to the Dolphins.
the Dolphins.
Okay, the Dolphins, are they one of them? That's what I meant.
I would think they stick with Tua, so maybe 3, I suppose. But for me, it's the Bengals for sure because Joe Burrow looks legit. So they would definitely trade down. And wow, totally forgot the other one. Looking at it, hold on.
Falcons.
No, I think the Falcons would take Trevor Lawrence.
Oh,
yeah.
The Giants.
Logic would say that you take Trevor Lawrence if you're the Giants, but since Dave Gettleman drafted Daniel Jones. Whoa, Daniel Jones.
Daniel Dimes,
Jones. What'd you say?
Danny Dimes.
Danny Dimes, that's right. Daniel Jones. He might be kind of like sticking to him and all that, even though he really hasn't looked that good this year. I think it's a possibility the Jags wouldn't draft a quarterback, but
I find it hard to believe at this point.
I think they will, but I think there's an outside shot they won't. So
okay,
Dolphins, Bengals, maybe Giants, probably not Jags.
So what's your opinion on the Jets? Did you give me a consensus pick that you would think they would take him?
The Jets are number 1. They're bad. They're
going to take Trevor, though?
I think they definitely take Trevor, unless for some reason... But
here's the question. If you're a smart GM, would you ask yourself, if we throw Trevor into this, does that help him and help us? Because,
So, what you do here is Ryan Fitzpatrick time in Miami is probably done.
Probably.
So you're like, hey, man, you want to come back, New York, be a Jet again, while Trevor Lawrence just kind of doesn't die? Do you want to die for Trevor Lawrence? That'd be cool if you did. Or you sign somebody else. Tyrod Taylor will. Don't mess that poor kid up anymore.
Josh Rosen is the new Ryan Fitzpatrick. Just you wait.
That's tough. I mean, Tyrod Taylor will be available after this year. Mm-hmm. Maybe Kirk Cousins will be available.
I don't know if he'll be a journeyman type of quarterback, though.
There will be options available that you can have Trevor Lawrence sit while you get a decent team around him. And mostly just to undo a lot of the stuff that Gase has done in the building. I think even if Sam Darnold is still on the roster, which if you're picking Trevor Lawrence, ideally Darnold is off the roster before you pick him. You could probably send him to a team that needs a backup quarterback, like the 49ers, I think would be a perfect spot for him. Probably get just a mid-round pick in return. That sucks, but fuck it. You're getting a new quarterback. You're getting the best quarterback prospect since Andrew Luck. it's a no-brainer move to me.
The problem with trading Sam Darnold is it's not too long until his contract's up.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, what is Sam Darnold going to ask for? Because it's not like Sam Darnold has played bad, right? Like, he can ask for normal starting quarterback money.
I mean, if he's smart, he won't. If his agent has any kind of intelligence whatsoever, he's like, look, man, you're going to be a backup. You need to ask for like a 3-year deal tops, and it's going to be like okay money. And then you'll get a shot either with that team or with another team, and then you can kind of have your prove it year. But this, I mean, unfortunately, that's the price for him being on such a bad Jets team that's ran as poorly as that Jets team. And while it may not be his fault, that's just how it goes, man.
Yeah,
Like, sucks.
I texted you this, like, if we weren't in a position to get Justin Fields or Trevor Lawrence, the Vikings, I wouldn't mind trading for Sam Darnold. I really wouldn't. I think he's a good quarterback.
I think if you're trading, I mean, obviously the Vikings wouldn't be trading for Darnold to start because they still have to kind of go with Kirk. But I think if you're trading for Darnold, you're a team that can afford to sit him because I think he is. I think he'll have like PTSD from the Jets and Gase's offense, which has just been terrible. So I think he'll need to unlearn a lot of habits and get into better habits kind of as you go. What would be hilarious is if somehow he ended backing up Baker Mayfield and the Browns. That'd just be hilarious to me.
Doesn't seem like a team. I feel like a team that would trade for him would be a team that has an aging quarterback.
It'll be like
a Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay. I could see Tampa Bay. I think Niners would be the most good spot for him just because of Kyle Shanahan, and they do need a backup quarterback. They may not be willing to pay the rest of his rookie contract out because he was a 3rd overall draft pick. Other teams that might trade for him, maybe the Patriots. Cam Newton has said this is going to be like a 1-year type of deal unless something else drastic happens. Could see the Lions if they're looking to replace Stafford soon. Could see the Bears if they're just looking to get not Mitchell Trubisky. So there's a lot of options for him out there. Like I said, if it still keeps going that the Jets are looking like they're going to get the first pick, I bet Darnold gets either traded in between the end of the season and draft day or before the season is even over. So
okay,
I could see either scenario.
I'm going to say my second worst team is going to end up being the Dolphins via the Texans.
Okay.
Like,
that's plausible.
I mean, they're the only other team that is yet to win. Oh, the Falcons haven't won either, but yeah, I think the Falcons have more potential than the Texans do. Especially after you uproot everything. Like, my stance, which I explained, is like once you uproot everything, I feel like everyone checks out, and they're like, next year.
So this is where I disagree with your placement, and I would actually put the Washington football team at this point.
It's fair.
Yeah. Seeing as they've benched Dwayne Haskins, and it kind of looks like they're going to move on from him as well. And that roster offensively, pretty rough. Obviously, they have Terry McLaurin. Their offensive line, they have Brandon Sheriff, who I think will be also not on the team for much longer.
Did he just sign a big deal?
Did he? Well, I think he'll be moved because I think they're going to blow it up. So I don't know. They're starting Kyle Allen, who
he won a lot of games last year.
But
didn't they win like 9 in a row?
Not because of Kyle Allen,
but
though.
I mean, it was like they put him in.
He had two really good performances, and they had the awful graphics where it's like Kyle Allen was actually better than Cam Newton all along. Yeah. No, absolutely not. Shut up.
I'm just saying you can win games with Kyle Allen.
You can win games with Kyle. Well, then you can win games with Dwayne Haskins.
They probably could. They did. They won one.
I think this is almost another situation, but they're a little more ahead of the Jets in that they've already benched Dwayne Haskins. I think they're going to trade him as well. A team that's also been thrown around in the backup quarterback market is the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I think that actually makes a lot of sense for Haskins because he's kind of the big arm, kind of bigger dude that has decent pocket awareness that the Steelers kind of like. Basically, he's Big Ben. Or Mason Rudolph, but hopefully not as bad as Mason Rudolph is. But so that's where I would pick. I would put Washington at the second pick, and I would believe they're also going quarterback at this point. So.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, well then I'm gonna put Washington at 3.
Okay.
mean, now you've got probably Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields off the board, so
Correct.
I don't think there's much debate there. They're one of the 3 worst teams. I don't think
Mhm.
there's much we need to talk about. Like, what do you think they target at 3? A tackle?
The Washington?
Yeah.
You think the Dolphins are going to pick Justin Fields?
Oh, no, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay, so Washington will grab Justin Fields here.
Yeah.
Washington, Miami, who do they grab?
They could go. I think they could go a lot of directions here. If I were them, they're probably going Jamar Chase, who's a wide receiver out of LSU.
Second pick wide receiver is pretty wild. Who's
yeah.
the highest wide receiver we've picked? It's been picked recently.
Recently,
Wasn't Tavon Austin like 10?
There's got to be someone before that, though. There's got to be someone taken in the top 10.
When was Julio Jones picked?
He was picked top 10 because the Browns traded down, so it might have been Julio. But that's still a long time ago. Julio Jones is like 31, I think. There's somebody we're forgetting. That's just how it goes.
Sammy Watkins was high. Sammy
Watkins was 4. He was 4.
Okay.
So it was Sammy Watkins.
Right.
Or maybe it was 6. Whatever. Sammy Watkins was definitely the answer there. They could either go Jamar Chase, who's sitting out this year, which I think was the right move. His stock really couldn't improve anymore. He looked fantastic on the national championship LSU team. Definitely wide receiver 1 in the country. Almost no debate. He has some competition from Jalen Waddle out of Alabama, but there's really no one that can do everything that Jamar Chase can do. Is complete wide receiver. He's your number 1 prototypical guy. The other direction they could go would be Micah Parsons, who's a linebacker out of Penn State, who's an athletic freak. He runs like a 4.3 at 230. He was like the team's kick returner at one point, which is nuts. And he's super good. And Brian Flores, who I know is the offensive coordinator, but they're kind of asking Kyle Van Noy to do a lot of stuff that he really can't do because it's not schemed great for him to do it. And Micah Parsons, being the stupid athlete that he is, can probably do it. So, or they could just go O-line there if they want to as well, but I think they would address that later because I think they're addressing other needs. But
okay, well, I'm gonna go ahead and put the Giants then at 4.
Okay, so the Giants, I agree with you. I think the Giants will definitely be a top 5 picking team.
Mm-hmm.
They look pretty bad in all facets. It doesn't help that DeAndre Baker, who was projected to be really good, got into some off-field trouble and is no longer in the team and probably will be in prison. So that's not ideal. I don't think they're going to go corner here at 4 because of the talent that's there. The Giants have been begging for a pass rush forever. Really, since they've lost Jason Pierre-Paul, they haven't had a marquee pass rusher. So I think they're going to go Gregory Rousseau, who's an edge rusher out of Miami here. He can basically play any position on the D-line. He's a little raw, but he's so athletic and he has all the tools to be like an elite pass rusher. I think that's just a no-brainer here. If they wanted to go a different direction, corner-wise, to replace what they're losing in DeAndre Baker, they could go Caleb Farley out of Virginia Tech, or probably Patrick Surtain out of Alabama. I think those are the 2 better corners in the draft. Wild card for them would be to go like offensive line, I guess. I suppose
they definitely need offensive line.
I suppose they could go Penei Sewell
if he drops to there.
If he drops, but I think it depends on whoever is in charge of that. Joe Judge, who's a special teams coach, maybe he prefers O-line, maybe he prefers pass rush. It just kind of depends on what they feel they need more. They do have a lot of money tied up in O-line, if I'm correct, with a big contract to Nate Solder. So maybe that will affect things, maybe not. But
yeah, I think my opinion is they'd probably target that O-line just because Daniel Jones has been. That's part of the problem is how much he has no time. He gets hit a lot. That's why he also holds the ball too long. It's always been one of his issues. So,
could see it. Could definitely see it.
Definitely need to improve the offensive line if you're going to keep Daniel Jones around.
So
my last team that I'm going to pick here, and that's going to be 5th, and we're going to end the segment here, is it's tough for me. I think there's a few teams I can go for, and there's a team I wish I could throw in, but I'm not. I think the obvious answer here, I think it's not super obvious. You might disagree with me, but I'm going to go the Broncos.
Okay. I disagree.
On their backup quarterback.
I disagree.
I just don't see them winning. If they barely beat the Jets, it's like
You think the Broncos are going to be worse than the Bengals?
I do because I trust Joe Burrow to win 3 or 4.
Okay.
But
I disagree.
I think the Broncos, as good as they have a lot of weapons, but they're on their third quarterback?
Yes, so they're on Brett Ripon, who came in for Jeff Driscoll, who came in for Drew Lock. They also have Blake Bortles waiting to see if he needs to come in.
Does any of that sound good to you?
No. But
this is the team that could barely beat the Jets. That's the biggest thing for me.
Brett Ripon played very, very well until he played very, very bad, and then he played very, very well again. And I know it's against the Jets defense, so it's kind of a whatever sample. But I like Brett Ripon. I think he can get them outside of the top 5 at least. And then, the team that I would put here would be the Bengals.
I feel like Joe Burrow has enough juice to win 4 games.
Has enough juice.
And then I think that tie is going to come into effect. Like, it could be close.
It's so stupid you can have ties.
And then they're going to have a harder strength of schedule than I think no, because they play the Chiefs. I don't know. I think it'll be close in those 2 teams, but I think the Broncos are just going to be slightly worse.
Okay, so if the Broncos, I'll do it for both teams since we're kind of at a stalemate here.
Okay.
So if the Broncos are here, obviously they have a very pressing need at offensive line. Garrett Bowles is in the last year of his contract, I think, or it will be the last year coming into next year, and they did not pick up his 5th-year option. He hasn't been very good. They might bring him back on a very team-friendly deal, but still, you don't want to have someone who's not that great. However, with the talent that's here at offensive line, I would probably say, and also like at this point in the season, like I don't know who the top prospect is. Like this probably will change by the time we get. The top prospect is Trevor Lawrence, but like outside of really like the top 2 locks, which are Trevor Lawrence and Penei Sewell, it could change. So right now, to me, the best offensive line prospect besides Penei Sewell is probably Alex Leatherwood, but I think if they're looking at draft value, unless you trade down, you probably will get a corner here. And you'll probably either get Patrick Surtain or Caleb Farley, basically whichever one that if the Giants go corner, they didn't pick. And then I believe you still be able to pick up good offensive line talent later in the draft. So I think they'll go with one of those elite corners here. If I'm the Bengals, I'm getting some damn O-line, no matter the cost.
Right.
So if they need a tackle more, they'll get Alex Leatherwood. If they need interior O-line more, if they pick the best O-line available, they're going to be picking Wyatt Davis, who's a guard out of Ohio State. He's super good. He's basically a lock to be a day 1 starter, which means he'll probably be terrible because that's usually how that goes. But if you're the Bengals, you're getting offensive line. If you don't think you're getting offensive line, you're reconsidering. And then if you still don't think you're getting offensive line, your other needs on the team would probably be wide receiver. Yeah.
I think it's corner, on the defense.
Corner or wide receiver. Yeah, well, I think wide receiver as well because I think A.J. Green is finally kind of washed a little bit.
Yeah, wide receiver is.
I think that's a need. They invested a lot in linebacker last year, so I don't think they'd be going linebacker here. Carlos Dunlap is in a contract year, so they might be going edge rusher there as well. So if Rousseau lasts all the way here, they might be getting Rousseau, but I really think they're going to commit pretty hard to getting offensive line because of the shit show that their offensive line has been this year. They need to replace their right tackle, Bobby Hart, who's probably the worst starting offensive lineman in the league, period. I think that's a no-brainer. I think if they come out of the first 2 rounds, we'll say their first 2 picks without addressing offensive line, that's bad. That's a really bad sign.
Yeah, they definitely. I mean, that was obvious from like week 1.
Week 1, yes.
that was